Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, we have a Eimantas Stanionis sighting. It's been quite some time since we had the opportunity to hear from Stanionis since everything occurred with Virgil Ortiz. That had to have been an ordeal for him going through the preparation for two fights and not getting the opportunity to actually showcase your skills. And so recently here, I would say about an hour or so ago, he did an interview, or at least an interview drop with FightHype.com, and they were asking him about specific people currently in the welterweight division. So two names that came up, two interesting names as far as I'm concerned, is Keith Thurman. Now, we know Keith Thurman is rumored to be on a card with Danny Garcia, and this, I guess they'll be the undercard for Floyd Mayweather, who is having some kind of comeback fight on December 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there's been no confirmation of this. Huh?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an exhibition with John Gotti III, a rematch of their last fight.
So there's been no confirmation of this whatsoever, or at least nothing that I've seen yet. They are saying that there's possibility that Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia will be on that card. Well, guess what? Eimantas Stanionis has interest in facing Keith Thurman on the undercard of that fight. So that would be an interesting fight. I would love to see Stanionis versus Keith Thurman. That would actually be something that I would find to be thrilling. So let's start off there, Jay. Let's talk about Keith Thurman. I'm going to pass it to you. We'll talk a little bit about Thurman, get your thoughts, and then we'll circle back to the other fighter that was mentioned in that video. What's your thoughts on Keith Thurman versus Eimantas Stanionis?
I like it. I mean, they both been out of the ring. Stanionis been out of the ring about 19 months. Keith about 15 to 17 months. So they both got ring rust. You know, they both had some injuries. So, I mean, neither one has a leg up except for Stanionis is younger. So, I mean, that's a good thing with that. And I think Stanionis is just hungry right now, man. I think he's just tired of the BS. And the way he got did by De La Hoya with not being able to have any funds to pay his training team and all that stuff there, being in hotels and whatnot, that was real dirty. So I think he's due. I think he's earned it. I mean, we've been wanting to see him. We want to see him fight Virgil Ortiz since the beginning, but both of them had their own setbacks, and we know Virgil was still out and not even in the division anymore. So I mean, I think that's the perfect matchup. Honestly, I think it's a fair matchup. We can't say one's been out of the ring longer than the other. Too much difference in that. Although Keith has, of course, the experience and the pedigree, I think Stanionis is a live dog, and that'd be a hell of a fight, man. I really like the matchup too, because Keith is going to really push him to really be able to cut off the ring, because we know Keith is going to get on his bike because he still has that good ring IQ. But Stanionis has a really good IQ, boxing IQ as well. So I think it'll be a chess match, and we'll be able to see Keith get tested to see if he really is about this boxing life like he says he is, or is he really just looking for a payday and have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And Stanionis is already saying that, look, he's going to come to win this fight, and pretty much Keith Thurman is going to be out of there after this. So
there is no way, and I do mean no way, and I want to make this clear, no way that Keith Thurman is going to get in the ring with Eimantas Stanionis. Stanionis will dust him. And the reason why I believe Stanionis will dust him is because even though you mentioned that both fighters have not been very active, Keith Thurman is inactive and well into his 30s. Thurman's got to be what, 35, something like that. So when you have the level of activity of somebody like Keith Thurman, where you haven't been in the ring for quite some time, there's going to be a level of rust that you just simply can't shake off, period. Now, we know that, simply put, when you've been out of the ring for a substantial amount of time, it's going to impact you regardless. But being 35 years old, that's really substantial. And when you think about Stanionis, how old is he? 29? Maybe something like that?
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah. So Stanionis, man, I just feel like the pressure, I just think he'll be too much for Keith Thurman. I think he'll be able to go to the body where we know Keith Thurman is weak, and be able to hurt Thurman. So I don't believe Thurman is going to get into the ring with Stanionis whatsoever. But that's, that would be an interesting fight. Now, with that being said, what was interesting about this video to me, Jay, was the fact that he was so willing to get into the ring with Keith Thurman. But there's another fighter whose name was brought up that you would have thought that Eimantas Stanionis would have said, I'm interested in getting into the ring with him as well. But not so fast. I need a few more fights before I get into the ring with this gentleman, and we're talking about Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, what was interesting to me about this, Jay, is that you don't typically see elite fighters say, I need a couple of more fights before I get in the ring with somebody. They usually say, oh, yeah, I'm ready. I'll fight that guy. All you got to do is sit in the contract. We can do this, that, and the third. And eventually, if they really believe that they need, a few more fights, they just procrastinate until they get those fights. You seldom hear a fighter admit, I need more fights before I get in the ring with this dude. So that was an interesting take, and I think it supports the fact that Jaron Boots Ennis is the current monster at 147 pounds. Now, we've seen other monsters in the weight class, and we've seen monsters in other weight classes, as a matter of fact, and sometimes those monsters get taken out eventually when somebody shows a blueprint for being successful against those fighters. But Ennis, it's right now it's an ass kicking for very little money. That's the way I look at it, Jay. So what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the fact that Eimantas Stanionis really has no interest in getting in the ring with Jaron Ennis at this moment? We've heard Ennis say, "Hey, we'd love to get that fight. We want that guy next." And Stanionis is like, "Nah, I'm good. I catch you. I'll catch you in 2026." What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a smart business decision by Stanoinis. They're both young, and they're pretty much the heir apparents to 147. They're the two that's going to rule 147 pretty much, honestly. I mean, it's not going to be no Blair Cobb, Alexis Rocha. Who else? I mean, there's no one else really at 147 I can think of that's really going to be hitting. And we would have seen a lot more about what Stanionis is or what he isn't if he had gotten that fight with Virgil Ortiz. That would have showed us a lot for Stanionis to see, where he ranks. But I mean, no one wants to fight Boots. Like you said, it's going to be an ass kicking. And Stanionis knows, like, hey, if I have a chance, if I really want to have a fair shot at this fight here, I can't just hop in the ring with this dude. This dude is a beast. Let me get someone that's kind of like, although me and Boots are around the same age and everything, I ain't been active. Boots been active, and he's hungry. He ain't no joke. Let me go ahead and get this senior citizen over here that's been sitting on the sideline waiting on his AARP card and Keith Thurman. Let me get that. So I'm not mad at him for not wanting to fight Boots. It makes sense for him, a business. That's one thing he did say a few interviews back when he was talking about the whole debacle came out with him at Virgil Ortiz and how De La Hoya did him. He's like, look, me as a fighter, I just would just fight anybody. But I know sometimes that's not the smartest thing to do is from a business aspect. So I sometimes have to listen to my team, and they want me to take it easy and have one fight here. So it makes sense. I think he's learning, and he's learning the business of the game and longevity of the game as well. So I'm not mad at him. I don't think he's scared of him. I think he knows it's a smart business move by him to say, not Boots just yet. Let me get 1 or 2 fights in, then we'll circle it back with Boots. That's the best smart for him. That's the best thing for him.
On another note, considering the fact that Stanionis has now made a public admission that he is not willing to face a switch hitter, I fully expect to see him in the ring next with Terrence Crawford. I kid, guys. I kid. I'm just playing. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast and Sports Media, and we are out. I'm just joking, guys. Don't come in the comment section saying this.